Today we're going to talk about the area of a square, a circle, a triangle, and a rectangle. First off, we're going to talk about the square. Let's take a look at a square. Now that you've seen a square, we're going to talk about the area. First off, let's take a look at the formula. As you saw, a square's formula is s squared. What that means is on a square, you have four sides. Now say the length of one side is 5 centimeters. Now, you would take 5 squared, because one side, which represents S, one side would be squared, which would cover the area. So if we took 5 squared, or 5 times 5, that would be 25. So the area would be 25 centimeters squared. Now try to do the following examples on your own. Let's see if you got it right. In the first example, the square was 23 inches. So to find the area, it would be 23 squared, or 23 times 23. So our answer would be 529 inches squared. In the second example, you saw that the square was 9 meters on each side. So you would take 9 squared, or 9 times 9, which would equal 81 meters squared. Now, as you saw, we will be taking a look at the rectangle. First off, let's take a look at the rectangle's area formula. As you now know, the area of a rectangle is length times width. This would be the length, and this would be the width. We could also say height times base, which would be height times base. Now say if these ends were 5 and these were 10, we would take 5 times 10. So our area would be 50, and say if it was meters, it'd be 50 meters squared. Now try to find the area of the following rectangle examples. Let's see how you did in the examples. In the first example, The rectangle had a side of 4 centimeters and 15 centimeters. So we would take 4 centimeters times 15. So your answer would be 60 centimeters squared. In the second example, the rectangle had a side of 9 inches and 32 inches. So we would take 9 times 32. So your answer would be 288 inches squared. Now we're going to talk about the triangle. Let's take a look at its area formula. As you saw, the area formula for the triangle is base times height divided by 2. But if you look right here, there's like a little upside down T. What that means is perpendicular. So if you come over here to the base and you go straight up, this should be a 90-degree angle right here. And then if you go up and come over from the top and come over, that will be your height. You don't want to use the slanted height. You want to use the height from the top peak down to the base. So if the base was 2 and the height was 4, you take 2 times 4, which would be 8, and then you would divide that by 2, which would be 4, and if it was centimeters, it would be 4 centimeters squared. Now try to find the area of the following triangle examples. Let's see how you did. In the first example, the triangle had a base of 22 centimeters and a perpendicular height of 19. So we would take 22 times 19, and we would get 418. And then we need to divide that by 2. And we would get 209. So our area is 209 centimeters squared. Now this second example is a little bit more tricky. We have a base of 13 and a perpendicular height of 21. So we would times those two. And we would get 273. Now we have to divide that by 2. So our answer would be 136 and a half centimeters, meters squared. Now we're going to look at the circle. Let's take a look at its areas formula. As you saw, the area for a circle is pi r squared. What that means is pi times radius squared. Radius is from directly in the middle of a circle to its outer edge. Diameter is from the outer edge all the way through the circle to the other side. But if the radius is just 2, we'll take 2 squared and it will be 4. Now if we take 4 pi and if we punch that into our calculators, you will get something approximately 12.5663. Now I like to round up to the nearest hundredth. So if it is 5 or above, if this number over here is 5 or above, you would round this number up. If it is below 5, you would round it down. So I would round up to 12.57. And then if this was meters, it would be 12.57 meters squared. If you had a problem where there was only the diameter shown, and if it gave you 4, then to find the radius, you would just divide the diameter by 4, so your radius would be 2. And like I said, you would square that, which you would get 4, and then you would take that times pi, and if you round it up, 12.57 centimeters, or I guess I had meters squared. Now in the example I just showed you, where the diameter is 4, I divided it in half to get the radius, and the radius was 2. And when you squared 2, it came out to be 4, the length of that diameter. But that is not always true. Say if you had 16 as the diameter, you divided it by 2, and then the radius would come out to be 8. But 8 squared is 64, not 16. So you do not use the diameter, and you do not go diameter times pi. You have to divide it by 2 and then square the radius. To clarify all of that I have just told you, I'm going to do an example for you with the diameter in it. So you would take the diameter divided by 2, which would be 6, the radius. You'd take 6 squared, or 6 times 6, and that would be 36. Then you would take 36 times pi, which would come out to be something of 113.0973. And I will round up to this, and since this is a 7, I will round up, so it will be 113.1 centimeters squared. Now try your best to do the following examples. The first example given to you had a radius of 10 meters. So we would take 10 squared, which is 100, times pi. So your answer would be 314.1592. And I'm going to round up, so your answer would be 314.16 meters squared. In the second example, you had one with a diameter. So we would take 24 divided by 2, which is 12. And and then we would square that, which is 144. 144 times pi is approximately 452.3893. So I would round up, and so your answer would be 452.39 centimeters squared. Thank you for watching me as I taught you about area.